I don't know.
No, they had,
That different
yeah,
than
well, in
navigation?
Texas, well, she kind of went off a little bit on their city jail.
Those
Like,
Oh,
tradition. He's there had a jail and the counties had jails.
Okay,
And
welcome
San
everyone
Antonio still
to
has them.
our
But he's-
Tuesday. It was supposed to be our 9 o'clock briefing that we did delay till 10:30. It is September 24th, 2024. Like, let the record reflect that we do have all 5 commissioners present. And so since we have delayed our 9 o'clock to 10:30, I'm gonna look at, I've got some updated times, so we will go ahead and get started with Deborah Perkins.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm bringing you a piece of property that DOT would like us to quit claim to them. The county sold it to Union Pacific, well, we sold it to the Washington and Idaho Railroad Company back in 1889. And the way that railroad property, the courts have decided it depends on the deed where they acquired it, whether it was an easement that they got or whether it was fee property. And only a court can really decide that. And so, since that is the case, DOT would like us to quit claim our possible rights that we may have in this property that we sold back in 1889 to the railroad, for a railroad, because DOT wants to put the north-south freeway over the top of it. They need air rights. And so they have offered to pay us $500 in administration costs to be able to do a quit claim deed for this, to clear the title, so that they can only deal with the railroad and not with us too.
But they're digging deep in their pockets for the $500.
Well, we're.
Is that all it's worth?
No,
And we don't own the property.
I can't prove that we have any ownership right. It's just-
1898.
And they prove we don't. So,
Well, they had asked me to begin with to just grant them an easement, but then I would have to defend that we really did have the right to grant them an easement over the top of this. And I don't think you want me to do that, might fire me for doing something like that. So I'm happy to quit claim anything. You know, the Brooklyn Bridge is handy, we can quit claim that, I'll quit claim.
that's at least $750.
Yeah, so that's what I'm bringing before you today, is to allow me, well, to quit claim this piece of property that DOT needs for the north-south freeway. And any rights.
I think we're all for the north-south corridor, so feel free. We don't really even own it.
All right,
Then-
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Ben Bradabo.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you. Yeah, Ben Bradabo and Amy Sumner today to talk about renewal of agreements that we have with local school districts for environmental education programs that's funded by our Aquifer Protection Area Fund. And so there's 2 that Amy's going to talk about. The first one's with Central Valley School District, and this is a longstanding one, working with 5th graders, and then the second one is West Valley, specifically with the West Valley Outdoor Learning Center.
So our interlocal agreement with Central Valley School District is to allow us to host all their 5th graders for environmental day camps. Traditionally, this has been out at Liberty Lake Park, but now that we have the DMLC, or the Doris Morrison Learning Center, it's being held there in the recent years. And this brings in about 1,400 students each year. This particular ILA, we're asking for $10,000 total, which will cover the bus costs to get students out to our facility for 2 school years. And that's 2024-25 school year and 25-26 school year.
So a question on that, yeah, so we provide the busing, the schools district doesn't provide the busing,
That's correct.
I didn't realize that.
A lot of school districts, I don't know all of them, I know of one in particular, has essentially eliminated the funding for field trip transportation. And so field trips have actually become a lot more rare than they were when we were in school. So, yeah, it's very different today
Okay.
than it was even when we were young.
Yeah,
So,
no.
which wasn't that long.
Well, and I know Central Valley specifically tries to get the fifth graders to do a science field trip. So yes, I did know that they've been out to Liberty Lake, for years. So
Yeah, and that
which is
program
part of
is,
why George Morrison was so important in my mind to provide that real learning opportunity.
yeah, and that's been going on since 2011, our partnership with them. And this year, since we do have that No Child Left Inside grant, we have been providing CBSD. Sometimes their bus costs are slightly above $5,000, so we've been covering the extra costs with our grant funds.
Do they always go same time of year or plan on based on what's going on out in the area at the Doris Morrison Center?
Right, traditionally, it's been a spring program, so usually around April, May.
Lots of activity out
Yes.
there at that time.
And then the second one is the West Valley School District, which is specifically with the West Valley Outdoor Learning Center. This is, again, it's been a long-standing program, but a little bit different.
Yeah, so this relationship has been going on since about 2012, as far as I can tell. And we pay West Valley School District for their West Valley Outdoor Learning Center staff to come to our Water Resource Center and provide ongoing education programs. And this is not just focused on fifth grade. They mix it up and get a variety of students out from the West Valley School District. Each year, this brings in about 2,400 students, and we're asking for $10,000 from the APA fund to help pay for their staff time as well as for bus. So.
I think it's great, and that's part of the purpose of the funds is for education. So, so super excited to see that happen.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And to add one piece is it's helpful to plan this, and our staff is really getting very busy with groups and having to turn away. So it's nice to be able, not to turn away, but it's good to be to keep everyone busy and are in demand, because we think we provide a good product to the community, and appreciate your support. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we want to wait on Deb Geiger's item, or would you like me to try to take it in her absence?
If you can try to take it, otherwise we've got Chris, your salary commissioner, you can take a little while or no.
That depends.
Okay.
Maybe. I'm happy to
My
get
part of
started.
it won't.
Okay.
Do we have the presentation run? Okay, so this is the 2025 rate proposal for solid waste disposal rates. So when we met at the beginning of this year and we talked about taking over the transfer station operations, these were our projected rates that we would set, and one of the reasons that we recommended in the commissioners took action on that we take over operations, because our contractor provided rates were going to be about a 16% increase. And we thought we would be closer to 5% on this. So you can see our current rate right there. And what we are proposing, or what we had projected for rates as of 2024 with a 5% increase. Go to the next slide. Crunching numbers on this, we are actually proposing a 4% increase for municipal solid waste and a 10% increase in organics. Organics make up about 25% roughly of our total tonnage annually. And that is to kind of start catching us up a little bit. We definitely subsidize organics recycling or organic disposal with municipal solid waste. That is probably closer to true cost of 70 to 80. But there's some, future states coming where we're gonna need to get that a little bit closer to true cost, which is why we are, come on. We were moving fast this morning. Just covering why we're doing the 10% on the organics right now. Lindsay Chapman, or those of you who just joined us, Ed's senior project manager. Do you want to pop in a little bit more? I just kind of mentioned the 10%, trying to get us a little bit more caught up with true cost and future state.
Sure, yeah, so when we looked at the 2024 rates for waste to energy as well as Sunshine, their 2024 rates are around $66 and we were lagging a bit behind. But also part of the rationale for raising it at 10% is that haulers will be able to spread that cost out among many customers and landscapers too. And that's why we really kept the organics minimum fee at $8. So that way the resident coming in with a bunch of yard waste in the back of the pickup truck won't be as affected as a hauler who can spread that cost out among a few different customers.
I don't have the number on me. I don't know if you have it off the top of your head, but a high percentage of our customers come in that are on the self-serve side, and they're right at the minimum or right near that. They won't be very significantly impacted by that increase. This is really when the haulers are looking at the entire network and they're bringing in 20 tons of green waste at a time. That's where, but then that gets spread out over every organic customer in our service area. Is there another slide?
Sure. Oh, no, I can take it. So this is just a snapshot of a rate model that we use to forecast our rates. And so column 2024, you can see that when we jump to 2025 with these rates embedded in there, we're seeing about a $1 million increase in our revenues. It's about a 5% increase in our revenues. And then when we jump down to total expenses, it's actually about an 8% increase in total expenses. And so then when you're looking at the operating fund increase or decrease, the decrease is in red there, we actually see the amount of money that we transfer from our operating fund to our capital fund. It's a healthy number this year, but it does decrease next year because we're only increasing rates, our revenue about 5%, but our expenses continue to increase. But at the end of the day, why we chose to do a 4% increase for MSW and a 10% in organics is we've been able to pay for our rolling stock, which was about $3 million. That's our loaders, that's all of our equipment. When we came to you guys in January, we thought we were going to finance that and we were able to pay for it out of our capital equipment fund. That's the same story with our preload compactor. So basically, we've been doing a good job of setting aside money for these big capital expenditures. And at the end of the day, we're still right above our 90-day operating target, having paid for those with cash. So our combined minimum target is forecasted for 2025 with those rates to be just above our 90-day, which is 4.9 million.
And this is all been presented to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. That committee did vote and make a recommendation that the board adopt these rates. Just real quick, we had talked about adding debt service because we're showing in between 24 and 25, 6 million, north of 6 million in capital expenditures. We're actually projecting to be able to cover that with fund balance. So at this time, we are not projecting a need for additional debt service out of the solid waste fund. We're drawing down that capital fund, but that's what it's for. Still keeps us above our combined ending fund balance. And I really hope we think too that we've got a swinging chance of beating these projections as well. So optimistic that our transfer to the capital fund will be greater than that 550,000, but that's still a pretty, you know, reasonable contribution to the capital fund and keeps us above that 90-day minimum target.
I think it's also important to highlight that this is still well below the contractor estimates had we not been doing this in-house. So I think that's also something important to highlight.
Yeah, it's about a third of what we expected the rate increase to be compared to what the contractor would have guaranteed to have been for 2025.
I'll just say I sit on SWAC and I abstained for the recommendation vote, so I could be partial here, but it's an engaged group. There's all sorts of representatives and asked lots of pointed questions about the numbers, and I think the vote was unanimous among those who participated. Thank you. Commissioner Monaco.
So I think this looks really great and I appreciate all the work you've done to keep the rates, you know, as competitive, especially for the household that's just bringing in their yard waste. So I appreciate that. What are your thoughts on 2026 as you look out? I mean, this looks very reasonable, but I guess just I'm always looking at like another year. Are we thinking another rate increase or what are your thoughts as you're forecasting?
Yes, we'll likely see a proposed rate increase for 2026. They're pretty, I mean, industry-wide, there's at least a CPI adjustment, if not more. The cities are going up a little bit higher, solar sunshines as well. So, but one of the things that when we did our initial projection at the beginning of this year was if we, you know, kind of take 5 now, or roughly, right, it's 4 and 10, it averages actually up to about 5. That we would be able to stay at rate increases that were sub 5%, moving forward into the future and maintain that combined minimum ending fund balance. And we'll see, you know, we need to get a little bit of operating time under our belt to really see how this manifests on the ground. I would say we're optimistic because we have slated this whole budget out, you know, 100% staffing, some conservatism in our numbers in here. So I think there's a lot of really cool efficiencies that we're already starting to see. Just being part of the big public works family, we have a lot to throw at it. You know, training alone, there's a substantial amount of training required for safety and the operation of the equipment. Well, we can bring that all in-house. We have a training program. We have additional mechanics in the central shop should we need to do that. And there will likely be a rate increase recommendation next year, but I don't expect a substantial increase unless something really out of the blue comes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Gearing up, November 17th, Sunday.
Yeah.
It all becomes real. Not just on paper.
No, and the clock never stops when it comes to waste. It just keeps coming.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This will be on your legislative agenda next week. And I did just also wanted to highlight one quick heads up for you all. We have one last contract to come through for disposal, which is our household hazardous waste. The timing of that, we need to move quickly on it. So Lindsay's going to come in next week and give you next week, right? Yep. And give you a briefing on the RFP. The submittals are due that day, so we won't have our recommended vendor, but we would like to move it through on the 8th. So we're scheduled now to brief you 2 weeks in a row. One, to let you know what the terms of the contract are, and then on the morning of the 8th, we'll let you know who the highest scoring proposer was in hopes that we can move forward to with a legislative item on the 8th. So we kind of double touch the briefing side of it because we won't have the name until the 8th, but we'll have the legislative item updated on the eighth.
Will that work to just fill in the name? Like, do we have to?
Yeah, so if we're gonna have to open it up.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking. If we don't have the actual name until, I mean, if, until that day, then we'll have to take it separately.
We would have the name on the first, but not until after we brief with you, because we have to evaluate the proposals that are coming in. So we're meeting as an evaluation committee on the first. Basically, during this briefing, we'll be evaluating before and after, so we probably won't have our final decision until noon. So we'd have the name to you a week in advance, but
So the legislative item could be uploaded accurately.
Okay.
We just wouldn't have,
We just needed 24 hours. It just needs to
Oh.
be published 24 hours ahead of implementation.
we'll be well in advance of that. We just, at the time of the briefing, I won't have the actual firm name.
Okay,
I could,
but you will by Friday, so
Oh,
when it's published,
Mhm.
it will be,
And we're just,
it'll be that, which should be fine then. Yeah, I just didn't want to leave it, I mean, because we could always strike it if something comes up. You know, from the agenda, that somehow they're not the lowest responsive person, or however you guys are evaluating.
highest scoring proposer, yes.
Yeah, highest scoring proposal, there we go. You know, that if something, you know, if you have that and something comes up between the time that you think that that's the right person, or brief, we can always strike it, but that way then it'll be there, so yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you a heads up. We're moving a little quick here with that deadline coming up, so we'll just want to get in front of you at a briefing twice, but the lead item will be accurate.
Perfect. Thank
thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Then, Chris, that's gonna take us to salary commission, so I think we can call it. Discuss.
that's out. We have a slightly modified version from what was attached to the agenda. I know that both Vicky and Josh were on those, so they have seen this one. There's one footnote that was added to the references back. There is one, it references back to the prior resolution, but otherwise, a lot of what we did was kind of clean this up. A bit. And then the substantive changes that were made have to do with the transition from 3 commissioners to 5 commissioners. And so pursuant to, obviously how the salary commission has to be set up, where we need at least one representative that is drawn by lot by the auditor from each legislative district. And so the way we've broken it down is to the total number of members of the salary commission from 10 to 9, with 1 selected by lot from each commissioner district, and then the same number 4 selected by majority vote of the board. Those requirements for the remaining 4 have also shifted slightly since the last time we did this. The qualifications of those individuals has been kind of loosened. Instead of having to have somebody with specific knowledge in certain areas, it has been kind of reduced to experience in the field of personnel management or a related field. Previously, we had to have, 4 different specific ones from 4 kind of individualized fields. So this kind of opens things up a little bit more to put individuals on who may not have exact specific experience, but do have related experience to personnel management. I think those are the primary changes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
what was the reason for that change?
I don't exactly know. That was legislative. That's based on the statute.
Oh.
That was based on changes to the statute. So we reflected that in our resolution.
That's a good enough reason for me.
Right, I assume that's because there was maybe some difficulty finding
Right.
all of those specific areas of expertise. So made it a little broader so that we have a little bit fewer hurdles. So aside from that, we are doing the same thing that we have done previously. They would, meet starting January 15th of the odd numbered years. And I will pass it up to Vicky and Josh to talk about their end of things, so I don't know that much has changed on that end either.
Yep, for us, in selecting the 5 random members from the commissioner districts, this just does reflect the change from 3 to 5 commissioner districts. So both Thurston County and Spokane County are impacted by that, and Mr. Nacio worked with Thurston County to develop a new bill to recognize that, which did pass through the legislature. So that's one of the reasons that we need to get this done, and also we will be convening the salary commission in January of 2025, and it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 months before I am able to get commitment from people to actually serve as members on the commission, so we need to start early.
Do you wanna, Vicky, would you explain the process you go through to select those people?
Sure. So we will pull a random list from each of the 5 districts. And probably run between 20 and 40 names, and we will send
From the
letters
voters.
from the voters rolls, thank you. Voter rolls, and then we will send letters out. And we do not get a good return rate, either positive or negative, and then we start attempting to make contact and cajoling people to actually serve. And the first few rounds, it wasn't too bad. The last several years, because we do this every 2 years, we will go through the full list of 40 before we're able to get one member to serve as the primary member and one individual as the alternate. So it's becoming more difficult to get people to serve, which is why we need to get this passed so that we can start right away contacting people, to convince them they want to serve as members of the salary commission. And then most of the work is actually done by human resources.
Yeah, the majority of the work that we will be doing is just really bringing them up to speed, because this is going to be, for the most part, a completely brand new board. I think we will have one returning member from last time, but otherwise, if we get full 10, it's gonna be 9 new individuals, so bringing them up to speed. And informing them of the process, maybe letting them talk to some of the elected officials during some of the meetings, so they get a better understanding of what the elected officials do. But yeah, that's majority of the time spent in these meetings.
So you said maybe one person would be.
I think there may be one, I think that's Jerry Gemmell.
Yeah, his term has 2 or 3 years left on it, I believe. The other 3 have, the other 3 expire at the end of this calendar year. So we would need to appoint 3 new ones for this next convening of the salary commission.
Okay, so it's like a 4-year term.
Yes, correct, and with a maximum of 2 terms for any individual.
And then just as a reminder, after the commission meets and develops their finding, that finding is presented to the Board of County Commissioners, but it is effective for the county commissioners upon recording with my office and reporting. And they cannot go retro, they can only go prospective, so it would not take effect anytime before the actual recording date. Just a few little details for everyone
And
to
it's effective
understand.
for all the other, not the sheriff or the prosecutor,
Right.
but the other elected.
So for the other electeds, the procedure is that the salary commission makes a recommendation to the board, and then the board does need to implement that. As opposed to the salaries for the commissioners, which are effective upon filing with the auditor. So there is one extra step that needs to be taken for the other electeds who are under the salary.
That was Commissioner Walker. Thank you. that was my, so B and C in here, that's basically taken out of the RCW.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, except, so we do have it set, our prosecutor and sheriff's salaries are tied to the salaries of the Superior Court judges, which are set by the state salary commission.
Okay.
And so they are not included under this commission. But aside from that, the other independently elected officials are included under this commission. But yeah, the procedure is all drawn from the statute.
So the statute says you can either the board can choose to make a decision about salaries, or you form this commission and they literally set the salary. Wow, they are independent. And then they recommend to us those other elected offices, and then the board makes that final decision.
Yes, and the reason for using a salary commission is otherwise, if the commissioners make a determination of their own salary, that does not take effect until the start of their next term.
Yeah, it's a different process, so it's interesting. So the prosecutor and the sheriff, that's in a separate RCW that says that they're set with the courts,
No, so,
Judges.
that is by resolution.
Okay.
That was a decision that was made to tie them to Superior Court versus
Okay.
tying them to this salary commission. There is a statute as to the prosecutor's salary, because the prosecutor's salary is partially paid by the state.
oh, I see.
So there is some connection to the state based on that. And, while I didn't do that resolution myself, I believe that's part of the connection between tying the prosecutor to Superior Court.
I didn't know how the process works. Now I know.
No, and so I think we passed a resolution to set this every 2 years, just so it wasn't delayed and people choosing not to or not, that it was just every 2 years it's set to go forward.
Commissioners, you'll notice that the commission convenes on January 15th. That's what the target is. Our HR team fills a facilitative role in just getting the meetings set up on calendars, helping with minutes. Oftentimes, if I recall from past minutes, the commission members will ask for comparable salary data across other counties, which the HR team goes and provides to them, and that just helps with their deliberation process. No active role, but not as a member of the commission or anything like that.
And traditionally, the group has asked at least one commissioner or each commissioner to come in and speak to what their roles are and what their duties are, so they have an understanding.
The every 2 year piece, is that a tradition, RCW resolution?
Resolution. I think that was our resolution.
So-
And that is the same time frame, just for reference, of the state salary commission. State salary commission meets every 2 years.
And I think part of, like, I don't know, I think we just set it so that way it's just done and it just flows with the state salary commission. So that way it's not like delaying every time to say, okay, we're not gonna do it for 10 years and then suddenly there's a big bump. That way it's looked at by this independent group every 2 years to see whether salaries should increase or decrease.
And that state commission, are they looking at state official salaries? at
The
same
state
time?
commission is just the state side, ours is separate from that. So this is, again, it'll be 5 randomly generated people from each district. And then the 4 people that we agree to, of which we have one, so we'll have to get 3. I think traditionally we've had, I think that there used to be more requirements. It was like somebody from HR, had HR experience,
Labor,
labor.
business.
Yeah.
Legal, I believe, was the
Yeah.
fourth.
Legal,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I could see definitely, saying we want to target someone who's got, HR legal experience, or labor law, or from labor. So I don't see why that would be.
Is that something that we need to actively recruit for as commissioners, or how do we get that list of people?
Yeah, so we would need to come up with a list of people we want to target. To not target.
Make it sound so attractive.
Wow.
It's your ability to.
Offer the opportunity.
Yes,
to-
join the team.
But I think in years past, it's been, we've I mean, obviously, yes, we have targeted specific people and, well, no, and because, I mean, to Vicky's point, I mean, a lot of people say no. So I mean, we come up with a list of, these are people that will understand the process. These are people that understand what a county commissioner does, what these other county officials do. And bring those, you know, and really go out and recruit them. Like, we think you would be a great addition to this board because of your work experience, your experience and what you do, you know, in, you know, and so. That's been traditionally how we've done it. We have actively recruited people we think will understand the process. And also understand what county government is and what the different offices do.
I think in the past, like Bill Hislop was one of the members, HR from STA.
Yes, Nancy. Yeah. Nancy from STA, again, understands HR, also understands what the county does, so.
Yeah, and then I think Jerry kind of represented, because he did labor negotiations as well of the county and understood the county,
Certainly
so.
understands the county.
Trying to think of who else was.
Jeff Martin, I know, from labor, one time, you know, he had been on there for a term, because again, understood county government, understood what we do, and then had a strong labor involvement as well.
I think we'll just need to come up with a list of people that we bring up. To talk about as one potential to have us agree to.
And will, the clerk will post these out on your boards and commissions for vacancies, so it also creates some visibility if people want to understand more about what the role looks like, what their involvement would be, they can be pointed to the website.
And just another clarification, so if this commission sets the salary, they could set it higher, lower,
Right.
whatever their
Whatever they
analysis
want it
is,
to
it's
be.
their
Yep.
decision.
An
And that-
increase takes effect upon recording, a decrease takes effect upon the next, start of the next term.
Yeah, that's on the final page, B explains that.
Any other questions? So how do we want to proceed with putting together a list of individuals for the other three positions? Because we will need to do that.
Bring back some names next week, I think.
And the one
Okay,
thing I
everybody make
do
a
not
list.
know, Vicky can maybe speak to this, whether any of the three whose terms are expiring have served. Are on their first or second term, as to whether they can be reappointed. Because you can have up to 2 terms, so if anybody who's expiring this year has only had one, they could potentially be reappointed if that's.
For the appointments made by the VOCC, I have no involvement whatsoever.
We'll have to check.
No, I believe that everyone that was appointed the last time, their terms expired, and so they've already served 2 terms.
They serve 2 terms.
So Jerry would be the only one who has
Could
served
be.
1 term. And I think he's expressed interest in coming back.
So yeah, so I would say, let's make an agenda item for next week, Scott. To add this, to have people bring forward names. For us to discuss.
If there's any additional questions, I believe Ashley will be back next week, so she can answer any additional questions that you guys may have.
I think it's just like. Do you know about how many meetings it takes? Usually that's one of the questions people ask.
I'd have to go back and look at the history. I think last time, since the majority of the individuals had been on the board previously and Jerry had previous county experience, it went relatively quick. I think it was 3 or 4 sessions to get it done, but and they were 2 hours or at most.
During the evening.
Yeah, during the evening. So this last time it went relatively quick. I would imagine probably, like I said, this time with basically a brand new board, it might take a little bit more.
Could you check on the people whose terms expired, if they, I mean, cause some of the, like, I know when we appointed Nancy, that.
Yep.
I don't think that was 8 years ago. I mean, I don't think she would have served 2 4-year terms. on that's just,
I will see if I can find
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
and I'm not questioning that she's served 1 4-year term. I'd be surprised if she had served two 4-year terms, because she joined STA like 6 years ago, so we wouldn't have appointed her before she was at STA. So I would think at least she would have maybe
Remember
one more
she
term.
was- Yeah, I guess the question would be, who were the ones that we had last
Yeah,
time?
so,
Yep, I will definitely, I'll double check and see who's already served two terms. We'll get back with you.
Okay, if you could just send that out to all the commissioners, that way we have that information. Okay,
So we'll have this on for the consent agenda next week.
The
To implement the to implement the changes to the resolution.
Okay.
Procedure and numbers.
okay, that'll be good, and then we will put it on the agenda for next week to bring up the other.
thanks.
Yep.
Which again, we're bringing up all those names in a public meeting, and so just be aware of that, because that's sometimes where people don't like to have their names in public. So. Just a bit of caution to make sure we
Maybe check in with
People.
folks, see if they are interested first.
So, yeah, okay. Thank you. Anything else on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then that will take us to the agenda. Okay, state of the county, just under miscellaneous is Thursday. You're not able to attend, right? Okay, sorry. No, it's okay. Everyone else is there though, right? And everybody, I will say that state that you are not able to, it's like, introduce your name.
I'll be there.
Okay, great.
I'm sure you'll do awesome.
It's Thursday, doors open at 11, event starts at 11:30.
Yes. And then we have to scurry off to the health board meeting right after,
Yep.
which I may be a little late.
I don't think so.
Patrick will say I've got to be available for a meeting, not that the media want to talk to me. They will talk to John, as we all know.
I'll probably have to leave early. I've got a TID board meeting, at the tennis board.
Okay,
That starts at 11.
starts at 11. Starts speaking till
11:30.
I didn't create the board. I just, I'm on it. I will be there for as long as I can be there.
Okay. And just want to make sure that I'm introducing all the board members.
Yeah.
So. And if you can't be there, I'm happy to state why you can't be there. So.
Okay.
I don't know what you'd like me to say,
Just how you said it, it's perfect.
that you were unable to attend.
He is absent.
I like unable to attend better. Absence sounds like, school absence.
You're excused.
Yeah, excuse.
Excused absence.
Yes, there we go. Okay,
Only if you bring a note, otherwise it's unexcused.
exactly. Okay, well, thank you all. I think it'll be good. It'll be, Okay. Pat, you have a miscellaneous, or you're gonna speak to?
Gonna mention, I would recommend to the board that I be authorized news advisory for the budget roundtable this afternoon, the first of the final budget.
Okay, we really couldn't hear you, so sorry, Pat. It was pretty garbled.
Sorry, I was just asking if I can be authorized to send a news advisory, just reminding the press about this afternoon's budget roundtable.
Okay.
I've seen, it's gotten some media hits already.
Yeah.
I've seen, but I'm fine.
It's already-
I'm fine with continuing to push it out.
Okay, yeah, no, happy to do that, and I know I will talk about the state of the county. The state of the county, we're not doing any printed material this year. We're saving trees. We are doing a QR code that will be on the table that people then can link on the QR code to get to our, and there'll be a tree to get to our budget, get to the juvenile justice renewal,
The video.
the video, yes. I don't know. Pat, what else are we linking to in our QR code, our tree?
Sure. So we'll have a link to the budget graphic that's usually contained in the printed version that will be digital this year. We'll have the videos that are being shown in case people want to watch those or get more information. We'll have basic information and a link to the comprehensive plan for 2026 so people can participate in the public process that's taking place there. And then basically any other supporting materials from the state of the county will be available there.
And the budget roundtables will be identified.
Yes.
Still available. And the other question I got from someone was, is there a way that we can put, if somebody has questions, that they can use that QR code to then put a question into us?
Yeah, I think we can set up a form on that site pretty easily for us.
Okay, thank you. So that way it just like it just allows for not having all this printed work, as we know it's expensive to print. And a lot of people take those and just toss them when they get back to the office, or they leave them on the table. There's a lot left on the table last year. So we just felt like this was a better way to do that. So Martha Lou.
If you don't mind, I also want to point out that on Wednesday, there's a big event in Commissioner French's district. It's the groundbreaking for Camas Meadow Community Park. It begins at 11 o'clock. You're all invited. This is the first county park on the West Plains. And the board very generously allocated $6 million in ARPA funds for the purchase of 10 acres and the development of the park. So there's that. And also in Commissioner Kern's district, in October is a ribbon cutting for the completion of the Bigelow Gulch Forker Road Urban Connector. We did have October 30th scheduled, but the project manager says, you know, we're proceeding ahead of schedule. So we thought maybe October 24th would work. That does not. I would appreciate it if you would check your calendars for Wednesday, October 23rd from 11 to 1.
So I am in New York with the airport's link bonds that week.
Oh, okay.
That's why, yeah.
So maybe we should go back to the 30th?
Or we could do the Monday.
When's the road open?
Monday afternoon after our.
The road will actually be open on October 15th.
2 weeks after it's already open, seems kind of weird, because we gotta shut it down to do an
Well, for
opening.
4 hours, that's all.
Yeah. Could we,
Can we do it?
Can we
if
do
it's opening the 15th,
14th?
well, that's a sad, oh, I'm looking at the wrong ones.
Oh, after our budget workshop?
The afternoon of the 14th.
What day of the week is that?
That's a Monday.
Okay, my only concern is it might be in competition with the city council on Monday night. It's up to you.
So,
Who cares?
did they pay for the road?
I would just say, let's just go for it.
No, I think it'll get media. It's a big deal to have that road finally.
For Monday,
14th,
Or I'm gonna throw,
which is Columbus Day, but I don't think anyone's.
Oh, the city may not be meeting that day. I don't know if they take a digital.
That's a good
people's day off.
point. Actually, that might work for East Valley. I don't think there's school that day, is there? I don't know. I'll check. Okay, I will see how October 14th works for everybody. Check with the East Valley School District, et cetera. If you would check your calendars and make sure that that works for you,
Maybe we just do like at 12:30.
not 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock is better for a package for the TV stations.
Okay. We will just. We've got some budget workshops that we've got scheduled that morning.
Until,
I don't know, I mean, we
That-
can,
We
How
were still
about-
scheduling though, weren't we?
could I recommend, if we have our budget workshops, what do we have scheduled for that Tuesday? Is it just our normal briefings? Because if the 15th is the day it opens, what if we just did the ribbon cutting the morning of the 15th? So we're actually cutting the ribbon and actually opening the road right then. If we could shift some of what we're doing Tuesday morning to
I don't
Monday.
know until we get the agenda,
What-
you know,
but,
so yes.
okay, but we're far enough
Yeah.
ahead to where we can maybe shifts, if we're already coming in Monday, shift some of the work from Tuesday morning to
Yeah.
Monday afternoon. That way, Tuesday morning, we can just do the ribbon cutting and it's a true snipping the ribbon, roads open.
Okay,
And that way we're not fighting with a holiday or anything like that.
True.
So,
true. So please check your calendars for Tuesday, October 15th at 11 o'clock.
I think we're all open because we're on schedule
We
to
would
be
be
here.
here.
So,
Yes.
I'm just making sure.
I mean, does that work for everybody? Does it?
I think it makes more sense just to do it as it opens.
Yeah, and we have a later,
Awesome.
that night we do our evening budget hearing anyway, so we're gonna be here in the afternoon, evening, so.
Works for me.
I like-
Plan accordingly.
Ooh, okay.
Look at that,
You're done.
and you guys are matching down there too, with your
Oh,
green.
yes,
Over 2 decades in the making.
absolutely. 2 decades, $74 million. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Just rolls off the tongue.
That's all.
Yeah, but
That's all.
Martha Lou, you say 11 o'clock start time?
It's a good start.
Okay.
Perfect.
It gives the newsrooms time to determine the news coverage for the day and to get out there. And then it also gives them time to write and develop the packages for the evening news.
Awesome.
Okay, hopefully we still have good weather then too. In October is better than the end of October,
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
so, yeah. Okay. Scott?
Miscellaneous. Commissioners, this is a topic of Shrek. Couple things, you've all been copied on the communications that have been going on regarding the city of Spokane Police Department potentially joining Shrek with their dispatch services. There's been some pretty good progress made with communications back and forth as to try to narrow down the offsetting items remaining. The Shrek board has requested that there be 2 county commissioners who are part of the transition team with the city. There's really 2 specific areas that I see as important for the Shrek board to be, or the commissioners to be involved with. One is any change to the composition of the Shrek board requires a charter amendment, which can only be approved by the BOCC. The second is there's an important piece that will help resolve on the apportionment of the emergency communications 1/10, as well as any future potential apportionment of the 911 excise taxes. Those are 2 of the 3 primary funding sources for operating the Shrek Emergency Communication Center. The legislature already had passed 3 years ago an ability for the city to request apportionment on the 1/10. They have not done that still to this date. In last session, there was a bill floating on the 911 excise tax and possibly apportioning that. If the city is going to join, I think it's appropriate for interlocal agreement to be put in place between the county and the city. That would say city forgoes the apportionment into the future regardless of any legislative action. Again, that would be a county commissioner action with the city's legislative piece. So those are 2 important pieces for the county commissioners to be involved with. Everything else on the transition activities is really going to be more operational in nature, service level agreements, number of responses, staffing, timing, mostly operational. So I don't see that the commissioners involved would need to be on every single meeting, but at least the first couple regarding those 2. So that's what I want to bring up to you is see if there's some discussion around which 2. And then prior to that conversation, I want to also let you know, last year, Shrek had come and requested the ability to lease ground out at next to the training center to locate their new emergency communications building. That's been progressing, but they've run into a number of things with sewer and other stuff that's complicated it. So at the same time, they were running a parallel path of looking at, are there available buildings that are suitable to house Shrek? And they did identify one out in the Marabou Business Park it's already built. It's a relatively new building, 2015. And the Shrek board agreed to enter into a purchase and sale agreement to acquire that building, which is actually very positive because it shortens probably the time frame by 12 to 18 months to be able to get into the building. They have to do a substantial amount of upgrades. It's amazing when you look at the legislative statutory obligations for emergency communications buildings. They have to have ballistic proof windows. Their snow loading on their roof has to be 2x or more of traditional international building codes. So there's gonna have to be some work done, but still it allows them to greatly shorten the amount of time for building and completing and getting operational. So if that purchase and sale agreement goes through, they will no longer need to lease land from us. And quite honestly, for the employee, the location of that is much more central. A lot of amenities around there with a park right across the street. The location out the training center would have been pretty remote, hard to go out and take walks and stuff to get, fresh air. So I think this is a win for the employees as well and a win for getting them up for an operation. So anyhow, back to the two board member requests.
Who else, just so we know what the makeup of the transition committee is?
Yeah, so from Shrek, it will be the chair, Cody Rohrbach, Sheriff John Knowles, myself, Lori Markham, who's the executive director, and the city has indicated the mayor, their CFO, so Matt Boston, their assistant city administrator Maggie Yates, and then a council member, Paul Dillon, their police chief and their fire chief. So.
So we need two people from the Board of County Commissioners then.
Yeah, that's what the request was.
So I'd like to recommend Mary Cooney and Josh Kearns.
All right.
I will say I would like to, I just spent the last 3 months trying to work through all this, so fairly familiar with all the ins and outs that are going on.
I would be willing to help. Been here from the beginning when Shrek was just an idea.
That's true. And I think, I would like to see if we could go back and find the consultant's report that set up Shrek. I don't know if that lies in the county or if it lies with Shrek.
Likely with Shrek, and I'll ask them for that.
Well, I reached out to Scott because I was hoping we would talk about this. I was going to nominate Chris Jordan because he wasn't involved with any of the setup. I was only involved a little bit my last year on council, but there is some history there, I suppose. So I was just thinking it might be good to have a commissioner that had not been involved in the history that could come in with, just kind of an open perspective and knowing that the citizens of your district are also city and county, a lot of them. So it might be a good mix. So just a thought.
I'll speak against the recommendation because we really want the history of the organization, and both Cooney and Kearns have that history, and to try and educate a commissioner about all of that history when you're trying to go into critical negotiations is just a waste of time, and it puts the county at risk. I would rather feel much more comfortable having two commissioners that clearly have the history and a commitment to represent the whole county, not just the city.
Perfectly happy to serve if that's the will of the board. Perfectly happy to hear all perspectives on the history, and perfectly happy to represent my entire district, which includes both the city and county residents.
I do second the nomination for Chair Cuny, I know you put a lot of time this year into having conversations and listening, trying to bring people together, so I appreciate you doing that.
Okay, I'm just looking at the list here, you know, so the Shrek side versus the city side is. 7,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I think my recommendation was, I will make it in the form of a motion. And so if there's somebody that would be willing to second it, you can vote on it, dispense with it now. Be up to you, Josh.
Motion on the floor.
Yeah, I will second the motion for it to be Commissioners Cuny and Kearns to serve on the negotiation committee.
A motion. For Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Cuny, I'm just track all this, so, all those.
So can I make a motion? Madam Chair, I'd like to move to continue the motion until next Tuesday to provide some additional time to consider it as the board. So that's a motion to amend the motion.
It's fine, we can vote on that. Just
Second.
will be a second.
Second,
Okay.
to amend, okay, to amend the motion. Gotta keep us, my dinosaurs.
Can I speak to the motion to amend, Madam Chair?
It's not a motion to amend, it's a motion to defer.
Yeah, it's, yeah, to continue, so I think if we're gonna continue, I would just say we can vote on the motion to continue, since I think there's gonna be enough votes, and that way it's just continue till next week.
I would like to speak against the motion to defer.
Oh, well, then
I think
we will.
there's a long list of people that are going to be advocating from the city. I think it would be in our best interest to have at least a comparable list of people that are gonna be there that are gonna advocate for the best deal for the county. We've known that this is coming up. This has been reported in the media. We have discussed the two people. Delaying it till next week, I don't think makes any difference. So I think let's just get through this. Enough dragging our feet.
I just think that it's better process for these things to be set on the agenda ahead of time, so that we're not coming in with a miscellaneous discussion where there's contention and different points of view, and then we're being asked to make a snap decision in the moment. I think it's better to think about it, set it out. Commissioners can think about it, the public can be aware of what we're doing ahead.
And I will speak to that, because we were in a meeting with the mayor yesterday, and the mayor was wanting to get the committee going as soon as possible, and so we stated that we would bring it up today under miscellaneous. That was Scott and my discussion with the mayor of the city of Spokane yesterday. So that's why it's under miscellaneous today.
I'll also speak against the motion to defer. It's not as though we haven't known that this was going to come before us prior to this point. It's been in the media, it's been discussed. There've been emails circulating. And so I don't think that one week is gonna garner any additional information. Let's just move forward.
I have a motion and a second to amend the original motion to delay. Any further discussion? Those in favor of delaying, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, so. To that, okay, so then the original motion is to appoint Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Cuny to the Shrek transition. Any further discussion on
Well, I just, for the record, I think it would be good to have Commissioner Jordan, and it's nothing against Commissioner Kearns. I just think Commissioner Jordan has shown to be very good at listening to all sides and bringing good questions to the table, and knowing that I think ultimately we all want a system that works for every person in Spokane County. I don't really see this as a, I think we all want to see a regional system that works for everyone. So I would trust that Commissioner Jordan's gonna be working towards that for every resident, but knowing that everyone's paying taxes all across our multiple city and unincorporated areas. I think it would be good to have someone with the perspective of representing both city and unincorporated residents to make sure we get the best system for everyone. And so that's just my thought on it. I think maybe there could be some good mediation there that Commissioner Jordan could provide.
I agree with a lot of what Commissioner Waldron said. This is about representing everybody in the county, and I think it's important that we appoint two individuals who have represented every single constituent across the county. So I completely agree with part of what you said, and I think we are sending I know we are sending two people who have represented everybody across the county, and we can have that mindset when we go into these transition meetings, but also keeping in mind, I've noticed in all the email communication, the mayor has referred to this as a negotiation committee. So I think that's something we also have to keep in mind, that the other side in these quote unquote negotiations, the mindset that they're coming in with. And so this is a transition committee, but I believe one side is going to view these as negotiations because that's how they keep referring to it. So.
And I will remind everyone that whatever happens at this committee will still be coming before the full Board of County Commissioners. And I reiterated that statement yesterday to the mayor, and she was asking if this transition committee was gonna, whatever happened there was gonna be what came forward and would be, she was, I think, hopeful that would be adopted, and it's like, we'd still, there is no guarantee that whatever happens at this transition committee will still be coming before the full Board of County Commissioners, that I, as a county commissioner, cannot make any guarantees as to what happens at the transition committee. So I made sure that everyone's aware that, again, that's gonna come before the full Board of County Commissioners. We can't, no matter who it is, can't be making decisions, that those are just decisions of two commissioners, not of the full board. But the governance still comes back before the Board of County Commissioners, and our local agreement with the city of Spokane is a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. So.
Just wanted to say that my vote on the motion is also not a reflection on either of the folks who may be selected. I would just prefer to have a mixture of perspectives that includes a commissioner who has a greater number of current city residents in the district. So.
Thank you. And I will say my vote will not be about any particular. I do feel like there's a pretty strong city representation that we. I will be voting for the motion. So. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, the motion is to appoint, I'm just going to reiterate, Commissioner Kearns and Commissioner Cuny to the Transition Committee for Shrek. All those in favor?
Do we need to open it? Is this something that would require?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So this is something that we need to bring up on for public comment as we're taking a vote. Anyone wishing to testify on the motion of the transition committee for the Shrek? Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call. I will close the public testimony and seek the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Nay. It carries 3-2.
Just gonna say that I'll have Kelly Conley, who's their marketing manager, Shrek. She's the one that's trying to organize the meeting, so I'll have her reach out to Brenda and to Ron to check on your availabilities as well.
Yes, because I do know that there was initially a
They were
meeting that was scheduled.
trying to shoot for next Monday, but I told them until the commissioners identified the board members who were going to be on there, I didn't know what their availability was, so probably not going to be next I think the sheriff may or may not be available, so we want to make sure there's availability.
Yeah, I think that's how we knew the mayor knew that a meeting had been scheduled already. We're like, we have to give it. Run it up, so. So again, that's part of why it was. We're set. Anything else for miscellaneous today? Very good. Then we will adjourn our meeting and we'll reconvene at 2 o'clock, or we'll not reconvene, but we'll come back for our 2 o'clock meeting, which we do have the first of our budget presentations. So looking forward to that. Thank you all very much.
Were we sent the slides ahead of time? Randy, do you know? Okay. No big deal.
I've not looked.
It's usually the revenues.
This,
Oh.
Not officially adjourned yet.
The slides are attached to the agenda that's out in Civic Clerk.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay, with that, then we will.